In the last section, we added a new instance variable to our ImageList class. But now we see this error message that says, essentially, all instance fields must be final. So the error message is really complaining about this images property that we just added to the image list. In this section, we're going to talk about a little quick side topic. Once we learn about this quick side topic, we'll then come back over to the image list and talk about how the side topic applies over here. So, side topic. I'm going to pull open Dartpad very quickly, and we'll talk about a new piece of Dart syntax. So up to this point in this course, we've been defining all of our variables by using the var keyword. So we've been saying stuff like var my name equals Stephen, or var my number equals whatever, right? Well, it turns out that when we declare a variable with the keyword of var right here, we're declaring a certain type of variable. Or perhaps it'd be more appropriate to say we are declaring a variable that is going to be treated in a very specific way by Dart. When we make a variable with the var keyword, we are telling Dart that we want to declare a variable with this name that can be reassigned at some point in time in the future. So after I declare my name right here, I can easily say my name now equals something else. Or I can say my number now equals some other number. And there's no issue here whatsoever. So by using the var keyword, we are declaring a variable that can change over time. It can be reassigned at some point in the future. There's another keyword that we can use to declare a variable. And when we use this other keyword, it declares a variable that behaves a little bit differently. So one other keyword that we can use to declare a variable is the final keyword. When we declare a variable with the final keyword, let's say final name equals Stephen, actually final my name, just to be clear. So when we use that final keyword, it's saying, or it's telling Dart that we are never going to change the assignment to this variable. So after using final, I cannot change the assignment to my name. So if I try to say my name is now blah, 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 I'm going to see an error message that says that I'm trying to modify a variable that has already been declared. You'll notice that in this case, we're not really seeing an error message right here just yet. That's just because Dart's having a hard time keeping up. If I click run, we will see an error message appear over here on the right-hand side. Yeah, there we go. So it says that we are trying to essentially assign some property or assign a value to a variable that was defined as being final. So how does this relate to the error message we just saw back over here inside of our editor? When we create a stateless widget, remember we said that stateless widgets contain data that should not change over time. Because when we create a stateless widget, Flutter is going to create that thing and then throw it away every time it tries to re-render our application. So every time we call the build method inside of our app.dart file, so this thing right here, we're going to be constantly creating new copies of the image list and throwing them away over and over and over again. So Flutter wants to make sure that you and I don't get it into our heads that we can change the value of images right here. Because in order to change images, we have to create an entire new instance of the image list widget. So to fix that error message, we need to mark the images variable right here as being final and saying this is the last value of this thing. It's never going to be changed at any point in time. So we have to add the final keyword in front of the type declaration like so. And when I add that in, now that error message goes away. We still have the one complaining about the build method, but we'll take care of that in just a moment. So again, anytime we have a stateless widget and we try to define an instance variable on it, we must mark that variable as being final to say that we do not plan to ever change this variable at any point in the future. Now, moving forward, now that we've discussed this final keyword, we're going to be using the final keyword at several other locations inside of our project, not just for marking fields as being final inside of stateless widgets. It turns out that using the final keyword is actually pretty good practice when you're writing out very simple functions. So for example, back inside of our app.dart file, we can find our fetch image method right here. We had declared response and image model right here, both with the var keyword. However, I think that you can agree with me that in no way, shape, or form should we ever change the assignment of response inside of the fetch image method. If we do, well, that might actually be a pretty big error. If we say something like response is now a string or something like that. So moving forward, you and I are going to define more and more variables that use the final keyword instead. And that's going to keep you and I from accidentally ever redefining variables when we don't really need to. Now for right now, I'll just leave these as var to keep things unchanged. But again, moving forward, we're going to see a lot more use of that final keyword. Okay, so we got one error message resolved. Let's take a quick break and we'll continue in the next section.